Well, my two good friends here, let's move on to our map ban. We've gone through some details on these players and what they have to show and the expectations that we want to set for these two teams and how they are currently. Let's see which map we're going to be playing on in this series. Again, 7 map pool, 6 are out. And, oh, good lord.
It's all right, we're not... What are you talking
Can
about?
we go straight to socials, please? Oh,
No.
my glass is fucked up. Right.
Can we just, okay, you know what? Hap, can you check, once you have your glasses back on, what the, how do you say, what our...
Play percentages?
No, not just percentages, but of course everybody knows that all of the leagues are scripted, so we know who's going to win at the end. Who wins Oregon, just so we're done with it.
Oh, you want me to tell you? Cloud9 will win it because it's not coastline. That means there's not going to be the jump outs with the Pulse shotgun, which was the absolute strength of Xavier.
This is exactly like wrestling here. We just script everything and make sure it's all done. The action itself is very real, but the results are in the end crazy, right? Nobody would have ever expected them. But yeah, it's Oregon. C9 banning Cafe. Right decision? That's my question.
I mean, it's always, I guess, a story of aggression with these two teams. And for me, okay, we have stats on map pools. We have stats on how these teams work and work against each other. But you cannot put away the fact that Oregon, from the first 2 Playdays, was 13 of the maps selected out of... That's over 50% for an easier way. You've got 12 maps a day, 13 to 24, all for one map. For me, yes, we have ideas of how they play on Cafe, and it can be good, it can be bad. We have ideas of how Xavier play as well. This is the 3rd Oregon in a row for Xavier.
Yeah. I definitely want to see how this shapes up. Xavier are a team that will bring as many heart breachers as humanly possible. Maybe something that will aid them on this map. Let's see what everybody thought about this game, though. Our socials are ready for their predictions. Globally, what do you guys think about this? 75% for Cloud9, 25% for Xavier. Whilst I understand the skewedness towards C9, a lot of people still underestimate Xavier, and hopefully we get to see more of that in this Playday. You can, of course, vote on all the matches on our social media, so go to twitter.com/R6 Esports APAC, and you can go and check those out. Let's see what we all thought about this game, though, before we kick it very quickly into game. Jess, Des, let's see what you predicted in this one. What did I predict? Cloud9, Cloud9, Cloud9. All right, we're all sane today, which is very good. You know what? On that note...
That didn't really go well last time, did it?
No, did not. Did not go well at all.
Des, I see your face. What's up? We can't hear you.
He's muted.
It's muted.
That's why. I was having so much comfort now. Just
Old
not
man
hearing.
Des.
Boomer.
No, can't hear him.
He's fully
Trying
muted.
to fix it.
We'll leave him.
This
We
is
tried to
such a
restart your PC
blessing.
already. There
Oh,
we go.
there.
Virtual buttons, boys. Virtual buttons, boys. Because I'll change over to this sometimes. This little one here doesn't always help me. I was going to say it's the hive mind, right? We all believe together. We all win together. We all lose together.
We
sometimes.
will
That happens.
maybe perhaps all lose together today. We'll see how that goes. But our game seems to be ready. Jess, final thoughts on this matchup?
Look, I think it's a C9 game through and through. We'll have to see, though. Let's jump into this match.
All right, yet another Oregon. Jess, Des, for the love of God, take it away.
I think I'm over that hill now, Jess. The hill
Really?
where we have an issue with Oregon. I'm actually just enjoying talking about it now.
I feel like there's only so much you can say about Oregon, especially over and over and over on the same play day, and I'm just finding different ways to spin it. What's exciting about this particular matchup is that Xavier doesn't really play a usual meta game. We've seen them play, especially Coastline, in a really off-meta way. Their play style is quite unpredictable, so I'm hoping that this gives us a fresh outlook on our Oregon here today.
What pains me the most is we only cast twice today. Like every duo gets to cast twice. We've done Oregon both maps. Despite the last couple being Coastline and Cafe, a bit of variability in there, and then we're stuck here with Oregon. But it's not the end of the world. It's different teams. We get to see different styles from each of these teams coming out. And this one, I am curious to see how it leads, because Xavier came into this stage. Everyone was like, "Wow!" Second stage, they did really, really well. They beat Giants. Like everyone was really hyped about them going into the finals at the major and stuff. And then this stage has been not so much rocky. They have come up against Fav, who beat them 8-7 in their last game, but remembering that Fav just beat Fnatic, maybe that says more about Fav than it does about Xavier. Maybe Xavier came pretty close to them in that game. They did then beat Electrify 7-4, but Electrify equally have had a good few rounds where they keep on chipping away at these more experienced teams and dragging wins away from them. So I feel that Maybe the last game is the best tell, given oddly enough that it was on Oregon. It was at 8-7 to Fav. I think Xavier are still the unproven entity in this game, whereas Cloud9 are the ones that we're looking at here. Although they lost the Giants in the last game, we all saw what they can do at the major.
Well, if we get a little bit more surface level here, I mean, I think it's pretty easy. 9 times that Cloud9 have played Oregon, they've won it. They have a 100% win rate here in Oregon. They've not lost it. Not since June the 1st. They have lost Oregon, and that's 9 different play days they've gone through. But if you look over at Xavier, they've won it 3 times, they've lost it twice. It's been banned only several times against them. So for the most part, it's looking like this is a really confident map here for Cloud9. If they lose this, this will be their first loss ever here on Oregon since June, sort of since its imposition into the map pool rather as well. So you got to remember that that's one of those things that you could turn around and say, maybe C9 are the gods of Oregon, and that's what they'll be looking to prove here today.
To put a bit of a spin on that, although they have that history on it, it seems now every single team is very well prepared for Oregon, given how much we're seeing it being picked up. So although you look back at the stats and historically, maybe it was before the start of this stage, you would say, yep, Cloud9 100% favored. I think given the fact we've seen Xavier go here twice, suggests they feel very comfortable on this map, and this could be a really good challenge. But we can sit here and spin hypotheticals all day long. The best way to experience how it plays out is to get into the first round, Jess. Kid Storms on the top floor. Static, formerly known as Sweet Black, or the artist formerly known as Sweet Black, should we say, bringing along the Monty here in round number 1.
Yeah, no 6 picks here other than the Warden to the Kaid, and that's not surprising. Thatcher's banned, so it makes that Kaid ever so much more fruitful. You think about bottom floor as well, the hatch. And we saw on our last game of Oregon how, you know, that hatch was one of the key areas of attack for a lot of the attackers, and thank you very much for pointing that out, beautiful observer. We love you. Now the big focus will be on to Attic.
Fox Observer, how dare you?
My apologies. His name is Easy, everyone. Our other observer is Medics, but we have Easy on the observing controller today. And I think the big thing will be here is that which way do they push? If they push in a bedroom, they should be able to find this Kaid. It's a pretty usual one. We've seen it a few times now where you put it inside the bookcase. A lot of teams know this, and it does manage to hit the wall. So it shouldn't be an unknown quantity. The big thing will be is that they don't have an IQ. So over towards Attic, even if you send up a grenade or whatnot, if you place it all the way up on the roof, you actually need to go underneath and shoot it, which exposes you to the open hatch.
That's cheeky. Not gonna lie, I haven't seen that one employed before. Maybe because I've never seen the setup phase for a Kaid, given he does get banned away quite a bit here in Oregon. Yep, I am genuinely surprised. I've never seen it before. I like it. I dig. I'm all for these unconventional placements of Kaids. Electro Claws, a couple of times I remember some teams showing me on Coastline digging it into the floor from below. We've seen things like on Theme Park. We've seen it on the garage of Consulate. It's just a creative use case, I think. Shah getting an open kill. Don't worry, that wasn't a side swipe. Don't be alarmed. Different player altogether, but it is Napier going down on the Kaid.
It's not a surprise. Last time we saw Shah play on Oregon, he was the king of backstairs, and yeah, now he's going to be the king of armory and get that first opening kill. Not a surprise. I think I likened another player just like him in our last Oregon game as well. So if he kicks off here on Oregon as the entry, as one of those key opening players, it's not going to be a surprise to me at all. I don't think I'd overhype it in any way, shape, or form, just for the pure fact that he is consistently that key player. We need to see other players stepping up here in the names of even Nova, Harper, and MV Taylor. And it's surprising that we haven't really seen any of the walls get opened up yet, and it's almost halfway through.
It's a very, very slow stance because their number one focus is getting this Monty upstairs first and foremost. There comes the run out, and he knew where it was coming from, but just could not respond in time. But at the same point, the Super Onigiri, one of the MVP players for the team this season, it isn't DCH that we're talking about all the time anymore. In the same time that happens, MV Taylor elsewhere trades one back onto Scatman, and that's the smoke gone. And with a minute and 30 left, that is one of the crucial operators. You do not want to be losing that early. DCH hugging up against Trophium with these smokes in, is trying to play really aggressive here, hoping that someone's going to walk around this corner straight into his waiting arms. The Monty is coming close, and with the smokes now dissipated, I fear that they're going to know exactly where he is. He's going to have to step away. Let's he gets pre-fired from inside the wardrobe. They find one going down. Super Onigiri makes it a second. DCH swings out, gets one for himself. This has gone completely against the side of Cloud9, with the Monty going down too. Shile in a spot where he's got MV Taylor with him against Red Sun and Super Onigiri. 2 versus 2, Jess, and 45 seconds to go.
Yeah, not a surprise. It's come down to this. 40 seconds left. A lot of time here for the attackers to work out their game plan. Someone outside rotating, whether or not they decide to go white window or rotate all the way over to bedroom. I argue that the bedroom rotates better, but a one tap to the head of Red Sun says goodnight. And then guess what? He finds the head of Onigiri too, and that's a round over Rover. And well, when you speak up a guy like Charles, and he gets to absolutely put it on display for you, you can't ask for anything more than that.
No, 4K in 1 round's pretty admirable. Something that most of us can do in most of our games, I'm told. Never experienced it myself. But the guys turned out to be a god for them in that round, because that 3K flurry in the middle of the round coming out of Xavier, I just thought, man, they've cleared this out. They've still got control of trophy. The Monty is now dead. Surely they don't give this over, only for it to then turn into a 2 versus 2 where Charles clutches out big time. So that is a round that he is dragged over the finish line by himself there, because for Cloud9, things were not going the way they intended. They got the Monty onto trophy door. They were looking for their execute, but couldn't quite convert it. Here they're going to change things up a little bit, and it's going to be static going across to playing on the Carly rather than the Monty.
I'm really glad they 6-picked that, because you don't know whether or not they're going to retry the top floor or they're going to go downstairs. And the risk with them possibly changing their site to downstairs is that you cannot deal with bunker. You cannot deal with the hatch. You just have so many unknown quantities without bringing some kind of ability to open up the walls. And it was about halfway through that 6-pick that you could tell they were having the conversation about whether or not he should change. And I think it's the right choice. Even though it's the top floor, it's going to help them exponentially get the wall open, whether or not they try and do a little bit of a pinch push this time and go, okay, we'll open up the bedroom and we'll open up the attic. Napier seems every round like he wants to try a different thing with the electric claw. Last time it was spotted out really quick by a drone and pinged out by the 2.0 system, so it didn't really work out too well for him. Now he seems to be trying something else, and I don't think that's the best go for it, but you know what? It's too late for him to reset it.
Did it even get the wall? I don't think it did. I think it's too far away. No, look, it missed.
Yeah, it's back to front as well. When I say back to front, had it been the other way around like that, it would have reached, but not in the original configuration. And there we go. I argue a drone would spot that out pretty quickly, especially if someone walks in to that room. A gaping hole in the floor is something you're going to look at pretty quickly.
You just don't know who's down there, and it's like, oh, it's not who, it's more what. It's an electric claw. Free kill for me. And that wall is now de-electrified. We can open it up with the ace if we want to, or the Habana. Lots of choices to play around. Here we go. The drone's in. Are they going to find where it is? There we go. Hello.
This is strange. That just banned. Why not just put it on the wall?
Don't know.
Why
Carly,
do
I guess.
this? Yeah, but come on. I don't know. Maybe he's assuming that the big mini major winners don't have eyes or something to that effect, but it doesn't matter, because now the wall will get opened up and this is much better time management here. Super Onigiri will get his revenge onto Charles at least, and that is the Zofia and the big hitter here down. No need to Kaid the attic when the only push here is onto bedroom, and he's going to Kaid trick it. We spoke about it before. Without a Thatcher, you can pick this back up, throw it back down, and with a Carly in play, that is easy to do as a Kaid. So this is great. They'll get tricked.
There we go. That's all the X-Kairos gone as well. Normally you would look to use the Carly, I think, in conjunction with the Habana to make sure you could open those up. But hey, Static was busy off fighting towards Trophy and contesting onto the doorway. Second kill of the round for Super Onigiri. Xavier now with a massive advantage. That wardrobe wall staying closed in a spot where they found themselves 2 kills. And Cloud9 do still have 60 seconds to play with here, but I think it's fair to say, Jess, the odds are most definitely stacked against them with 2 of their best fraggers already off the board.
Well, the reason you can't lance the wall and place whatever your wall opening device is, whether it's exothermic, your X-Kairos, etc., is because it will explode them. And that's happened to multiple teams on multiple different tier levels, and that's fair enough. But how low? A little bit of map awareness, please? White stairs, not being held by anyone, and that's a 3K. Nova makes it look easy, and well, who needs a wall open when you could just run on in? 1v1, 30 seconds left, Des. This has got to be it here.
Well, this ain't too hard for them as well. Noses up in Pig, and they do have time to play with, so there is no time sensitivity for Harper right now. And with that smoke going down, that's the last one in his back pocket, I'm pretty sure. Going to try and go for the plant. The drone is out, but now he knows it's there. He's going to peel off this to try and peek it. But look at the time being wasted. Did have another smoke canister on side. Here comes Harper from the backside. Will he be able to rotate around? He's watching the road. He sees the gun come through. Scatman clutches it out, but my God, is that yet another close round where Cloud9 down in a 5 versus 3 bring it all the way back to a 1 versus 1 and almost close it out.
After all the hard work that Nova had done in that round, ascertaining the fact that White Stairs was clear, no one was looking at it, a little bit of sloppy map awareness and site awareness there from the defenders. Very lucky that they had that last player there, that support player. And we often talk about these support players not getting the limelight they deserve. You know, they got the thankless job, as you said before. And I think that that's one of those kind of players there. You know, you wouldn't really call it a clutch because that's their job, is to be able to deny the plan, to deny the execution going down. They're the last line of defense, and we clearly saw that there, and they did a good job of it and being able to play passive, play the time, which is also their friend in that particular round. As a whole, I think the attackers it's almost like they weren't confident with how to use Kali against the Kaid, especially a Kaid who tricks. Seemed a little bit, I don't want to say idiotic, but for lack of better words, why not just take your Zofia underneath, open it up, and you can concuss and they can't throw the Kaid at the same time, or you can just shoot them. So interesting that they didn't make a combination of things. It's almost like they were very one-dimensional with their ability to counter that.
You just stole the magic word I was going to use, which is one-dimensional. It absolutely was a very big focus on the front side of it, with very little help for the Hibana going into it. No play from below, no trying to combo things up, even an attempt coming out with the Kali. Unfortunately for them, and here they're just trying to definitely make sure this is Electrify, which I can confirm you guys it is.
Okay, so here's the funny thing. With the old radius of the electrical, you could get both the wall and the hatch. You cannot do that anymore. So, not sure what, I don't know how far back Napier is with his ability to understand the electrical, but that's okay. We don't mind a little bit of experimentation. He's been a bit odd with it every single round, I'll tell you that much.
What I will give to him is he pretty much in the very first throw got the meeting hatch, because a lot of teams will try and do that and fall short, have to reposition it, keep on trying 2 or 3 times. He just threw it up there and was like, I'm not looking at that. I know that's going to connect first time. I'm off to go and get Freezer as well. So fair play at least for getting that part right, but I agree. Some interesting, and I mean that in the caster definition of interesting, some interesting electro claws in this game.
Oh, Super Onigiri. Almost as if it's the meta now. If you don't have a Jaeger playing on Pillar here, then what are you doing? What kind of team are you that plays Oregon? That's where Onigiri will sit, and ooh, as he tries to rotate out, he gets absolutely punished for it. The Monty plays super aggressive and unnecessarily so, gets taken down by Napier. I think the big thing here, you lose your Monty, not even half of the round has elapsed. That's a big hit to your lineup here. Charles still alive, thankfully, and he did get a good few hits onto Onigiri, but they still have elbow control, and now you've hit the 1 minute 30 mark.
I'm so glad you kept talking then. I was about to sneeze and I was like, please just keep talking. I'm so glad your mouth did not close. Here comes the smoke and the rush through. L up into the top side of Boiler and looking to see if they can get their way onto this north side and assume the control they need. 1 minute and 15 left, so there's still plenty of time to play with here. Stepping back through behind his own smoke. That's going to be Scatman back inside of sight, reinforced up. And now Cloud9 are in a spot where they haven't got a threat from Elbow. They can start stepping their way up in towards Boiler. All 4 members in, looking to see what they can do without the Monty on side. The answer, not a lot. Scatman finding one. It's Nova down and on the ground. See if they can still hold this out. C4 comes through. Napier gets one for himself. It's a double kill in the round. Flanks round and makes it a triple. The final in Harry Potter. It's a 4K for Napier and a flawless round for Xavier.
I gotta watch this back again. Nets the Hibana, okay, but look at that flick. Barely sees the tippy top of Nomad's head crouched there in Harry Potter. Great read on the situation as well, because once the player had gone out, I believe it was Charles who was contesting that pillar position. Once they'd gone down, he went, yep, here's my opportunity to move on up and see exactly what's happening under hatch, under meeting hatch, and over towards backstairs, through towards, you know, blue bunker. And that gift of Hibana, that was just luck of timing. Siege is like that sometimes. It doesn't mean the player had, you know, better gun skill. The Hibana was just trying to rotate there and get a better position. But that last flick, that's absolute skill there. And these rounds are very entertaining. I have to give them that. I mean, Xavier, looking over at their statistics here, you got to look, they're a pretty defensive-sided team. I mean, especially when you're talking about sort of tactical maps, especially maps like Oregon, most of the time they're defender-sided. So we'll see if that plays out.
I think around the world, Oregon has been overwhelmingly defender-sided, but I think as we saw the challenge put to it earlier on, back in the first game of the day, we were sat here talking about Scars versus Cyclops. And you said back then, well, Cyclops apparently are a pretty good attacking team here. And I was like, okay, let's take the small sample size and assume that maybe there's something wrong in there and we're going to see the real Cyclops this game. But no, they carried on that trend of being excellent on attack and delivered. So I think for some teams where Oregon is now as popular as it is, those that are still innovating, doing things a bit differently, and even just perfectly executing the basic things, they're the ones that are coming out on top when it comes to the stats, whether that is attack or on defense. Here, though, we are headed to the downstairs. It is one of the kitchen sites, the only 2 sites on the downstairs. It's going to be the dining variant. So looking here in terms of what they're going to do upstairs, some teams like to hold the top floor. Jess sounds like she's in peril or she's spotted something that makes her very excited here.
I wondered whether or not he would get that second reinforcement off, and they were already droning closets. So I thought to myself, they'll spot this out, they'll shoot the wall as he starts to reinforce, and it's all over for his life. Gets away with it, and okay, that's a waste of a reinforcement, but it didn't really matter. And, oh no, it went straight through the hole he shot open. What a waste of an Ash charge. That's okay, though. It looks like the first engagement will be Red Sun. He hasn't been able to net a kill this matchup thus far, so this is actually a pretty promising gunfight here for Static, formerly known as Sweet Black. And well, now it looks like Charlotte and Static and Harper as well on the drone are hoping they can get this pinch happening. Top floor is essential here.
Tries to go stupidly aggressive. Redson pushing round as Static finds him, brings him down. That does put it into a 5 versus 4 nice and early, but Static slightly injured, admittedly down to about 20% HP. This war for the top floor, nothing that we are not used to seeing, I guess you could say, Jess. Most teams do want that top floor control to assume the vertical play a bit into church, what am I on about? Into kitchen, sorry. So no one can sit there very safely at the back and look to contest into dining, as teams will normally then execute from small tower through into the dining area. Here, that's absolutely not the initial focus. As you can see, there is quite a lot going into getting control of the top floor. The Shah, now with things opened up, has a couple of nice little holes he can peek through, see if anyone is inside of kids. The answer is absolutely not, but what you do now have to be mindful of is these C4s from below.
I think the drone came out and spotted DCH below that vertical as well, so Shah will be absolutely aware of this. Napier is creeping down in Freezer, and that's one C4 gone and wasted. DCH's C4 gone, and I don't know whether or not Napier has one or not, so he could try and challenge that as well. But now it will be the flank, and whether or not this flank is going to be fruitful. The meaty hatch is probably open and being watched. What bad timing, but it doesn't matter. Everyone's aim is better on C9 anyway, and now they want this kitchen plant. Usually you'll see people do a dining plant, but this time C9 says kitchen is where we need to be. And the Taylor will pop off on a Scatman, and some good shots raining out here from C9.
This one I remember actually is when we had Chaos versus Secret. This was a really interesting attack that didn't work out very well for the side of Secret. But here, my God, has it worked wonders for the side of Cloud9. They shut down everyone at Super Onigiri and make that actually everyone full stop. Super Onigiri is dropped, and it's a flawless round for Cloud9 after the previous round where Napier found that 4K for Xavier and got them a flawless round.
I think if we were to go back, you and I especially, and watch that round again, and we commented on where it went wrong, I would say 9 times out of 10, it just came down to gun skill. And I'm usually not the type of person to say that, where it's just, oh, yeah, no, that it's just down to them shooting better. But that round, it really, really looked that way. Gunfights that possibly should have gone into the hands of Xavier was just completely clapped back by C9. I can multiple times there that Nova got a couple of kills I think he probably shouldn't have. Those are the ones I'm referencing, the mechanical skill and the difference between Xavier and C9 there. I'm not saying C9's a better gunners or a team that's better gunners per se.
In that round they were, right?
But in that round, they absolutely were, and it was overwhelming. I think they still could have denied the plan into kitchen. There was still a Kaid on the roof. They still had to get that wall open. There was still a lot that they had to do, and there was still angles onto the default plant spotted kitchen that they could have contended. But the gunfights were just too unreal.
And the thing is, as much as we all talk about Siege and look at how, you know, it's such a deep game, there's so much strategy to it, there's so many layers of depth that you have to step through before you can either A, understand it, or B, play it to the highest level. You talk to some PL coaches, and obviously was being one yourself previously, Jess, sometimes you'll talk to them and just say, oh, what happened in that round? Like, this seems to go wrong, and that seems to go wrong, and that didn't work out for you. And they'll just go, nah, it's far simpler than that. We just had our 2 entries die at the very start of a round, and we're lost from there. Sometimes it hasn't got to be some big, complicated answer. It can just come down to, our fraggers didn't frag, their fraggers did. End. That is literally all it can come down to in some instances.
Well, it sounds like you got some beautiful harmonic music in the background there, and I'm also hearing the Electroclaw hit the ground for the 80th time running. Napier,
I assume you're on about the drill.
Yeah, love it.
I can
love
sort
the
that out,
orchestra.
don't you worry.
But again, got to question this Electric Claw. Also, good shot through the double doors there to collect DCH. He's not had a good first half whatsoever. Generally, we really hype him up as a player. He's quite a high impact player. This matchup, he hasn't been able to have the impact I know that he usually does. I think that comes down to the fact that we're seeing Napier play a lot of the Kaid when we used to see DCH play that role more frequently than not. Since DCH has been popping off, I think they've moved him up a peg. You know the whole saying, you got promoted to Doc. I think he got promoted to Malusi here, and it's now forcing him to play more off-site, which is kind of not DCH's style, I'll be frank.
Yeah, I mean, he was going to fall last week against Electrify as well, but the problem is in quite a few rounds, his members were just falling all around him, and he really couldn't do much to drag some of those rounds back over to his side. And here, I think against Cloud9, they're starting to feel the same, except in this case, he's the one being involved in a good number of these gunfights that they just can't win. A gunfight going on around the classroom, no guns in school, please. Either way, no one walking away dead. It's a 5 versus 3 for Cloud9 still. However, 90 seconds remain. It has been a bloodthirsty round, Jess, is how I describe it so far.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Onigiri because he hasn't had the impact that you would usually expect of a fragger, especially one that's lurking all over the map, roaming everywhere and trying to have some kind of effect either on the time or the players. And in fact, he's not going to have any impact on this round whatsoever other than wasting about 15 seconds of time. Red Sun, however, on the Maestro will kick off, but gets clapped straight back by Nova, who's been having a whopping game. And I'd love to see the scoreboard after the game that Nova's had so far. He gets the walls open. But once the walls are open, you think about it like almost like a Thatcher main. That's how I perceive him in the way he plays. Once those EMPs are down and you've done your job, boom, you're a gunner. Or you're a flex rotate hold. And for him, he just turns into this insane, blood-hungry gunner, and he doesn't miss. And probably, when's the last time you've seen the AK played seriously, other than when G2 played Fuse on Cafe, however long ago that was?
Oh, how magical that was. I loved it.
That was great.
Yeah. Highly amusing. A game that I'm sure we'd all love to watch back again at some point, and most likely will, no doubt. When we get a nice little highlights package, come around to the next big tournament, it's one of the things that belongs in there. I'm sure of that. Interestingly, looking across how these 5 rounds have gone so far, the scoreline says 3-2, but to me, it is not that clear cut. Round number 2 came down to a 1 versus 1, where Charlotte and Lemmy got picked off quite early on, so they lacked that leadership power that we often see coming out of those boys, and Nova unfortunately wasn't able to do anything too big there, but it came down to a 1 versus 1. Round number 3 was where Xavier completely popped off, or Napier specifically popped off with a 4K, and that was after they downed the Monty inside of Elbow. So the way I'm looking at it so far is those couple of rounds that have gone the way of Xavier have either been very, very close, or it's been on the back of one person popping off. The rounds that we've seen Cloud9 win, take the last round or the previous one, those two have both looked down to being flawless rounds, bar 1 kill in that round just a second ago. And I guess you could come back at me and say, well, actually, no, in round number 1, Xavier did well, but Charles got a 4K. Yeah, fair enough. So if you then disqualify in that round as well, from the last 2 rounds alone, Cloud9 looked far more on their game today than Xavier do, I'd wager.
The round count doesn't paint that picture, which is a shame because Cloud9 have done a phenomenal job, but I think the big thing here for Xavier is that they're able to put things together when things look quite dire for them, and that's a good trait to have. You know, we speak about confidence in teams when things are looking pear-shaped, and that's what you want from a team. That's what you want from players, especially support players. Like we said before, the Smoke was able to clutch one of those rounds in the 1v1, etc., and play and dwindle that time down. A big question for me, and I know it's such a minor point there, but Static had his drone hidden in the drone hole out inside of Elbow, and whoever was reinforcing, I believe it was Napier, he knew the drone had gone in there, and he shot, couldn't get it, and I think that drone still persists in that drone hole. You could see almost all the way through it, so the fact that it's still in the drone hole is a little bit of a questionable, sort of circumstance for me.
Also questionable how Nova's trying to peek. Again, the guy who has 8 frags so far in this game is basically at the very entry point, being completely down by the other side. Good start from Red Sun to snag that one away. Wanted to touch very briefly on a couple of changes we've seen come in this round. Envy Taylor going from the Nomad onto the Twitch, and also on the other side, the Bandit coming out for Red Sun in conjunction with the Kaid. So double electrification being brought along. And I guess maybe that's what they tried to identify on the side of Xavier, was thinking, well, they brought the Carly, they didn't really make use of it, therefore we know we can lock things up here with the electrification. Envy has got a massive role to play, and keeping those drones alive is going to be absolutely critical.
Well, now that they got rid of the shield, and Static is stuck in the corner because Envy's on his Twitch drone. Typical Twitch main. Gonna sit on his Twitch drone. Please, please let me out. Okay, now I can get in. Not that it really matters. They reinforced that wall up. No one is there. And now everything will be theirs over towards the blue bunker side. Shell already has pillar control somehow, some way. And when I say somehow, some way, I mean, who's surprised? He always gets that control no matter how he has to get it. Manages to get that deep hallway kill as well, which is super impactful. He now only really has to worry about the freezer. And I hope that they get this electric claw off that wall in front of them. I think they might have. This might give them the opportunity to open up the really key angle. And yes, it does. That one Twitch drone did a world of wonders.
The fact they can even get this wall open in itself is a godsend, because now they don't have to plant in the default spot, which is currently smoked off. There's had everything thrown at it. It makes it very, very tough to go for. So in this spot with a bit of flexibility as an option, they can look to make it happen, but you've got to be really concerned about these members of Xavier. One hugging close, one inside a freezer, and I'd imagine one round to the left. The fact they kill that site player of Red Sun is massive. Despite getting 2 kills, they now have site control. One's in freezer looking to rotate around, the other one's still stuck inside a corridor. He gets collected. That leaves one man left alive. It's debut all by himself. Last time it was a 4-man clutch. He really can't achieve it this time round. Those last 3 rounds, Cloud9 looked like they were on absolute fire, Jess.
I just really want to highlight that Twitch play. And, you know, we could talk about how on fire Cloud9 are, and that's fair enough assessment. But the fact that they identified that they were struggling to open walls, especially on the top floor site, and went, Kali's not working for us. We're not going to bring a Kali down below. They've just been Kaid tricking it. What can we really do here? And then someone stands up and says, you know what? We could try with a Twitch drone. We could see what impact we can have here. One singular zap of one electric claw opened up the entire line of sight they could ever dream of, and that broke the site apart. And it's so minor to talk about, but so big in the whole grand scheme of things, because that round might have gone in the hands of Xavier if that wall had been left closed. So, love it. The adaptation isn't ironclad, you know, it's not foolproof, but it's one that absolutely worked for them.
Let's see how it plays out now that we switch sides, and we're seeing the return of the operator that we saw once again earlier on today, Jess. It's that Capital for Red Sun. No hard breach gadget coming out, so they are stocking a lot on Scatman being able to get the right things open here. Somewhat concerned by that, given there is a Kaid on side. You've got to get DCH getting these drones in and destroying the electro cores without those drones being destroyed. Not so sure it's such a simple job, and that is 2 points of kind of, I suppose, brittleness of this comp, right? If the Twitch drones die, you're not getting walls open, therefore Hibana is useless. And even in the case where the Twitch drones do get in and maybe look to do some damage, how do you know that they aren't going to start tricking with those electro claws, in which case the Hibana becomes useless anyway? So there's a few points of failure here that I'm watching for Xavier. If they can get those 2 bits right, their execution with this Capital could be incredible, but they've got to get those 2 bits right.
Yet another Twitch drone, this time in the hands of DCH. And whether or not he decides to go for the mirrors or he decides to go for those Kaid electric claws will yet to be seen. Oh, gives away his position by shooting a default cam. Bit of a rookie mistake if you ask me. No need to go for those cams when you can just shoot them on your way in. You need to keep some of those, I mean, they're infinite zaps, of course, they regen, but you don't want to be giving away that very audible sound. It can be heard from quite a long way away and give the defenders an indication as to where that drone is coming from. But it looks like a big tower push is the play here for Xavier. No elbow presence just yet. Very likely they'll try and get this backstairs control or near to it and then maybe pressure in. But if they don't pressure blue bunker, I worry for them, because that looks like a strong point of defense here for C9.
Keep on saying he's got to be so careful with those drones, because as you mentioned, he's used them for default cam so far, but nothing to do with the actual site itself. And that is a big point of reliance for them in this round. And in fact, there's one thing I meant to ask you. This is generally something I'm not sure of. I'm a Hibana main. I don't play Twitch. When the drone is in the back pocket, do the charges charge still, or do you have to throw it on the field for it to start charging?
No, you've got to use them, and then it starts the regen process from then on, yep.
There you go. Okay, interesting. Thank you. Today I learned Professor Jess.
Look, it's one of those things where Twitch is so underutilized these days. She used to be overutilized because of her F2. These days, not so much. And speaking of, one just gets shot right in front of us.
DCH, my man, I know you're a big fragger. I know you're looking to get in there and do some damage, but sadly, a drone does not stand up too well against a gun unless they're on sub 5 HP, so maybe not the best use case for them. Curious to know if he's got any left, actually. Where we can't see it on the overlay, and we'll only really spot it when we see DCH crawling around the map with it. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not he does have one. Is that both of them actually gone?
They shot one backstairs and then one coming into blue bunker. I'm not sure whether the backstairs fully got shot or not, but I'm pretty sure here.
They saw it shooting the camera. I don't think he actually killed it, because I think he got it back outside in good time, didn't he?
Questions. It says 2 are non-existent on the overlay. We don't know if that's for sure, of course. And no, he does still have one. There you go. No way this gets past the Jaeger. Yes, it does. Zoom, and pop. There you go. Does he get the other mirror as well? Oh, this is like one of those cool little car shows where you see the cars zooming around.
No, this is Micro Machines. He's booted up his old PlayStation and started playing some Micro Machines for the boys. Only these ones shoot. It does get rid of the mirror window, and that is a massive breakpoint to have open inside of the laundry site, which means his freezer and laundry execute can come through. It took a good 2.5 minutes, but they got the piece they need, and now the kills are flying in for Cloud9. Napier strikes back onto Captain Envy. Taylor finds a second onto Harper. Can they keep them out for long enough here? Napier down to almost nothing. Comes around the corner for the next, but no. Static laydown finds a double spray down with the Vector and closes the round out for Cloud9. That took a long time for things to really start coming to bear for Xavier, but unfortunately, you're walking into Static ready and waiting on the angle to spray the two of you down, pushing through the same doorway.
The trouble is, when you take freezer control, you have 2 options. Either you have a laundry pinch or an elbow pinch, or you have a multiple area pinch from backstairs, elbow, 1 coming freezer, and maybe 1 laundry, and you can do it that way. The trouble is, you then need to decide, if I'm going to enter through freezer, do I have the pressure elsewhere to take the attention away from the kill hole that is freezer door? Because quite frankly, that's what freezer door has become, especially with how many times have we seen it? 12, 13 times in the past stage alone. Every single time that freezer door is the most hotly contested. And whether you're a defender or you're an attacker trying to push your way through, just siphoning through that kill hole is not enough. You probably should look to open up. I mean, they had the mirror open. They could have played it. They could have also used a breaching charge. Whether or not they have one or not, I'm not sure. But something to give them access to laundry there would have helped. I think it just came down to a really messy ending there. The timing played on their minds as well. And not a good one. But I want to see how Static uses this Kaid Claw here. I know that in comparison to Napier, he's not going to look to sort of put it in any of those sneaky air. Oh, yeah, well, yes, he is. I take it back. No Thatcher, why do this, Des? Why put it in an area easily dispatched of, and
5 seconds left.
There's no Thatcher. I don't understand, because Maverick is banned as well.
He's zooming around downstairs, I think, so just waiting to get himself upstairs and start collecting these. But the fact that it's out in the field early, the reason why I asked was that when it was in the back pocket, he held onto the one for like a good minute and 20 or so. And I thought, surely that's a couple of charges you have on side there. And even there, he's left one outside too. That's the one that he brought just back out. Another bit of a factoid to guess if you know this one. Does it reset all of the charges that you have when you pick it back up, or does it keep them?
As far as my knowledge goes, sort of once you use one, and you can see here, they're starting to Well, he'll get that one electric wall. I mean, you could really shoot that through the bookcase rather than using a tase for it, but who cares? At least it goes, and again, questionable. You get rid of a Thatcher and a Maverick. Why bother putting it in a place that is easily worked on? Just put it on the wall, force them to go below, force them to have to use multiple other methods to get rid of it. Nonetheless, both of these teams have committed to that, and now Red Sun's committed to getting himself up and being a real heavy oppressive presence here on the trophy door.
Hopefully here he has more success than we saw come out earlier for the other side when he came around to actually trying to push in. I believe it was Scatman who was playing on it not too long ago, trying to push through this trophy door and somehow got killed on there by the side of, or sorry, the other way around, sorry. It was on Scatman playing it, it was on Static, sorry, playing it on the doorway. And he was stood in that doorway for the longest of time and somehow got killed from someone inside a trophy. Didn't really work out the way they'd wanted, so here I'm hoping that Red Sun can see more success than what we saw coming out of Cloud9 earlier, because they just dropped it in the next round and said, you know what, forget about it, we want the Carly instead.
Well, we've just gone past the halfway mark, and it looks like not a single player has lost a single bit of health. And at the moment, Xavier, they're trying to ascertain, can we get more of this wall open? They've got a little line of sight open in bedroom, and well, they haven't decided to open up any of Pig yet, which is interesting. They could get an angle onto Envy Taylor playing behind a shield. Are they hoping that this line of sight is enough? Because if you ask me, it really isn't. But considering the placement, all of the Xavier players, it looks like a complete pinch onto sight. You'll have double window, white stairs, and white stairs gets dispatched of, I think. So there goes half of your pinch, and now it's fading away.
I have a feeling Napier, that I saw him running downstairs and Harper was inside of security, and I thought, surely Napier knows he's there, but I don't think he did. Got tagged out pretty comfortably by the Mewtwo, who has now backed his way out. In fact, no, it wasn't even him. It was Harper playing out towards Small Tower that got the kill for them. Has got to bring his way back up towards site, but this is a great numbers advantage. That Monty is down again now, and that is going to be painful. Either way, Cloud9 are clapping pretty big here. It was a 4 versus 2 a second ago until DCH goes, don't write us off just yet, Des. There's still more to come from this round. 3 versus 2 and only 15 seconds to go. I know exactly where I'm putting my favoritism in this round. One jumps in through the window, has no idea that you've got Every Taylor lurking around. Does get traded out with DCH on a triple kill. He's got an ace or bust here with 7 seconds to go. Will he find one lay down? He does find him. Gets the down as well. It's a quadra kill. All we've got to see from Harper is live. Just live, my man. Don't challenge it. We'll do just that, and Cloud9 take the round. But for DCH, my God, would that have been one hell of a rally to bring the round to his team's side.
Well, when I said they'd shifted around a few roles, yes, only minor roles and minor operators. But when I said they'd swap them around, I mean, I didn't realize it would really favor someone like DCH. It's a shame that he wasn't able to have that impact earlier on in the round. I think he's just getting a feel for how that kind of operator, how that role really works. Especially in tandem, when you're using a shield like that, you need to be able to be a bit more aggressive. You need to be able to be a bit more oppressive alongside the shield. And also we'll have a rehost and you can come back to our gorgeous faces and, you know, your half trimmed beard or whatever that bum fluff is on your chin.
A real awkward patchy sort of thing here.
Yeah.
Horrible. Oh well.
That's all right. You keep it.
You
keep it nice. I don't know really what to say.
Thanks, I guess.
I'm trying to give you a half-winded compliment.
You're getting there. You're being very nice today. I'm not used to this kind of jest. Can you go back to abusing me regularly so I remember what it's like and, you know, everything feels normal? If it ain't the teams, it's me. Some days it's both of us if we're all unlucky, but that's the way it shapes up. Either way, let's not abuse the teams, or we could abuse Xavier if you want to. Let's talk about Cloud9. They have played phenomenally all games so far. I touched on the 2 rounds that Xavier took in rounds 2 and 3. One of them coming down to that 4K from Napier, the other a very close 1v1. It feels like they can't get particularly close to winning a round, but bar the odd 1v1 like we saw just a second ago, that doesn't always seem to go their way.
I think what we need to be probably really wary of is that we've not really seen a very confident round from either team except in the very beginning of the matchup. And beyond that, things started getting closer and closer, and we saw some really questionable things left, right, and center. I mean, I spoke about multiple times some of those gadget uses and thinking to myself, hang on, are you really cognizant of the bans that went through? Are you really aware of how you could be playing this operator? And it looks like a little bit of inexperience on a couple of operators there, not being wary about how to play them, but good adaptations for both teams as well. Twitch is a great adaptation. If you don't want to be bringing Carly, you can use Twitch, but you can't rely on it. I think that's the big thing to point out here.
That's the big one, and I think equally with the Kali, you also can't rely on that. So I guess between both of them, it's hard to rely on. The reason why I say it's harder to rely on the Kali is, as we've seen so many times, teams will put that Electro Claw inside a supply itself, so it can still electrify the meeting hatch, but you can't destroy it with the Kali. That happens quite a lot, so I guess between her and Twitch, it's kind of a flip the coin on whether or not you'll find the teams put the Electro Claw in a poor position, or if you're able, as a Twitch with those drones, to still pick up the gadgets. But I agree with you, it's been nice seeing that variation come through, rather than kind of sticking to the air quote, should I say tried and tested? I wouldn't say it's tried and tested, but you get the sort of gist of what I'm going for here.
I also want to point out is that we've spoken about Xavier being one of those off-meta teams, and we said it at the beginning of the match as well, and we might have an exciting match. Yes, okay, we've seen a bit of the Twitch, the Monty. I think the only off-meta thing has kind of been the Twitch so far, which is a really weird thing to say given the time of competitiveness that I came from. But I think we're not seeing the Xavier, the really confident, cocky, defensive team that Xavier is on this particular matchup. Are they overestimating Cloud9, which is fair enough. Cloud9 are absolutely a terrifying team. You should be scared of going up against them, but you shouldn't swap the way you play. And I think that's the biggest weakness here for Xavier is I think maybe they've read too much into their opponent, and they're going onto a map that is their opponent's best map as well. So maybe that's sort of leveled things out and they're playing a little bit more passive than we would actually really usually see Xavier. What did we see? One jump out, that entire defensive half? That's so unlike Xavier.
It's limited. It does feel like when it comes down to these big gunfights, for the most part, you're seeing that kill feed turn blue. It's, again, look, we say it doesn't really have to always be this simple, but in some cases it really just is. When the way it shaped up there was just Cloud9 were the ones clicking on heads faster. And outside of 1 or 2 rounds, again, where DCH or Napier stepped up and achieved a 4K each, they're really the only 2 rounds that you look at and say, man, they really pulled it over the finish line there. And even in that last round, they didn't get it over the finish line because it went the way of Cloud9. So it's a real tough one where, 1, they're not necessarily playing the Xavier way, and 2, it's all coming down to the side of Cloud9 just being the gunners in this game. And again, it hasn't always got to be any more complicated than that.
Yeah, and it's a shame, isn't it? Because I would love to be able to do some macro analysis of this and what's going wrong in the rounds. I do think the wall denial has been sloppy. If I can point out something that maybe could have slowed down Cloud9 a little bit more, it's more reliance on more appropriate wall denial for longer periods of time. We saw some really good KE tricking 1 round. Other than that, I've not really been impressed. And when you have a Maverick ban, when you have a Thatcher ban, you often think that that's got to be the focus for teams. And that's why those kind of bans come out, and that's what you would expect. Haven't really seen it, like you said, it's come down to mechanical skill of players. Really impressed by Nova. I mean, you really want to be able to see these kind of players step up. We said Shah last time, now it's Nova that seems to be stepping up. It's good to have separate players stepping up when they want to. When they need to, of which Nova really needed to. And then it sort of lost him his life in the bottom floor side as well, where he just got maybe a little bit overconfident after his, previous success, tried to run headfirst in the blue bunker and got absolutely clapped.
I agree with you completely. Nova was the player that the guys brought up at the start in the head-to-head as well, and so far he has been shining in this game. And despite being on one of the air quotes quieter positions, it's the kind of good stuff you want to see. Let's get back into it. This is a reminder in case you are only just joining us. Firstly, welcome back. Second, Cloud9 are clapping. There have been a couple of rounds that Xavier have picked up, admittedly one off the back of a 4K from Napier, the other a very close 1v1 affair on Kid Storms in round number 2. Otherwise, this game has come all up blue. It has been all Cloud9. One more round will be enough to secure them a very dominating victory and remind everyone that, yes, they may have lost the Giants at the end of last week, 7-5. It may look like Giants are the team that are ahead, but Cloud9 are very hot on their heels, and Giants would be foolish to sit back and think they are anywhere near the top team right now, given how close this season is looking. Because coming into today, I was like, man, Fnatic, Giants, Cloud9 all look phenomenal. Even Fav aren't looking too bad. And today, Fav will come out and beat Fnatic as an example. Even Q Confirm, I keep on saying they remind me of Secret in EU. We've all seen what Secret have achieved recently. Give them a bit more time, and suddenly then you're counting 5 power teams or teams that could very well end up being in those top 1 or 2 spots. It's so hard to call, and the best thing is we're still so early in the stage, so there is still so much more to discover.
Yet again, we'll see it. Yo, go ahead.
Here's that comp you really wanted to see. Here's the wacky Xavier you've been looking for.
Oh, look, I expect to see a thinker with an LMG nowadays, especially from Xavier. I expect to see it, so it's actually not that wacky. I think it's a little toxic to pair it with a Lion, for example. Not out of the meta here for Xavier at the very least. We can see the things that they can do here with Lion when they can do it with Thinker. I just don't know how much of a hindrance it might be. The top floor clear will be the big thing here, but they've actually bypassed it completely. Does Super just want to walk on in?
Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, there's a couple of teams here that like using the Thinker, and I was going to say that Thinker is so critical for the executes. I know that Q-Confirm were a big user of it. We've seen a couple of others making use of it. Today, even, that's been out a couple of times for other teams. But that being down this early in the round means no adrenal surges. There's none of that reduction in ADS time. There's no reduced recoil. There's no extra HP stacking on top of what you currently have. Now you've got to rely on the Lion and the Nomad to do the hard yards for you. And I say the Nomad for things like this here, just trying to make sure that no one can come trying to push aggressively. They still managed to convert the kill somehow. What was that?
This is Xavier looking panicked, taking 1v1, v1, v1s when you've got 5 players alive. Onigiri started off with a 1v1, then Red Sun tried his own 1v1, and guess what? I bet you will see DCH take his own 1v1. What a shame. Xavier known as quite a good team when they can put things together, and essentially the match point that we're on has put them onto some kind of mentality that has not promoted teamwork here, and really, really awful for them that we might walk away with a 7-2 here now.
It's painful because it looked like coming into this round they had the tools. We were seeing Xavier stepping back. stepping out of the normal mold and more back into their own. And still, they found themselves down a couple of members here with only 70 seconds left to play. A 5 versus 3, not the outcome they wanted when we had that small brief rehost a second ago where they no doubt had a conversation around what needs to change and what needs to start going right for them. You can see a bit of a scatter with Napier walking away, creeping on the upstairs, DCH on the downstairs. They really want these players out of security, but I fear that with a couple lurking around and flashing yourself, you're doing yourselves absolutely no favors. They're going to try and strike. GCH finds one, but there's still a couple more inside of security. Where did that kill come from for DCH? Was that upstairs or was it straight through the freezer wall?
Yeah, that actually went
Kitchen
through
wall.
security wall, kitchen wall, all the way over to meeting where you can see the X flashing now. Looks like a couple of those Grismonts will go off and Envy's going to have to hit here. But guess what? It's raining from above. Bodies and guns as well. Charles says, no, I'm going to win it here and I'm going to win it here now, and caps it off in a 7-2 fashion here for Cloud9. That's a whopping win here that we didn't expect. And when I say didn't expect, we thought Xavier was on the upward here. This is probably not the scoreline that predicts that.
No, that was bizarre. And look, Cloud9 are strong. From what we've seen from them winning the major, from how they played last week, even against Giants, it was a close game. And Xavier, again, given how their stage 2 went, how their major performance went, I thought we'd see a bit more of them today. But again, only 2 rounds being won for them. One coming down to a 1v1, the other being a 4K from Napier. This was Cloud9 at full force. And that is a very promising sign for them going into Thursday's games, that they might be able to sit and start working towards that top spot come major time.
Look, they're undefeated on this map. And when we talk about sample size and you're like, oh yeah, but it's a small sample size. No, 10 games of Oregon in a row undefeated. Well, that's what they're walking away with now. And Xavier, better map bans next time, guys, please, please. And better electro claws, please. But we'll throw it over to the analysts who can break it down a little bit more deeper than we can. And we'll see you guys later.
Thank you, brother and sister Jess and Dez. Indeed, we're back.